Hi guys! Have you ever wished your Happy Planner box sponge had like an engraved ruler in the middle area? I know I have, and I decided to experiment a little bit with it. So if you want to see the 3 different ways I came up with to do this, then keep on watching. So I decided to add a little ruler or like some guidelines to my paper punch. And to do this, I will need a template. So I started by punching a box out of a piece of cardstock, and I am going to use the leftover from this piece of cardstock as an stencil. And I will trace that box into another piece of cardstock. Although in my case, I didn't end up tracing it all around. I only marked the corners and that was enough for me, but you can do it either way. You can also trace the entire box, but either way should work. Now what I will be using is that last piece of cardstock, and I will align it in the grid of my paper trimmer. I am using my paper trimmer because I do not have a grid mat, but if you have a grid mat, that works just as well or even better. You can just use whatever you have on hand. As you can see, I aligned that first mark with the 1-inch line in my paper trimmer, and then I am going to do a mark every 1/4 of an inch, at least for now. You can do as many marks as you may prefer, but right now I am just marking in black every 1/4 of an inch, and then as you can notice, I am tracing a full line every 1 inch. Once I finish with every 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to mark with different color every 1/8 of an inch. This eventually will help me to make more accurately shorter boxes. Like if I want a half box which is 1 inch tall, then I will be able to use these lines to do that. Of course, this isn't an exact science, but still it will be more accurate than just trying to eyeball it, at least for me. After I finish all my markings, I am going to rotate the cardstock and I am going to align it again on 1 inch. It doesn't matter really if it is on 1 inch or 2 inches or what, but this is gonna make it easier for me to know exactly where do I have to place the rest of the marks. And I'm going to do it in this other direction as well, like in a landscape orientation, following the exact same process that I just did. And once I finish with that, I am now going to align it with my paper punch. I'm going to use a bit of tape to secure it in place, and I'm going to use this template as a ruler to do the marks now in my paper punch. I am using a Sharpie so that it stays in the middle area of my paper punch. And I'm basically doing the exact same thing again, using my black Sharpie to mark down every 1/4 of an inch on both sides as well as on the top and bottom. And then, like I did with the cardstock, I'm going to use a different color of Sharpie, in my case a pink Sharpie, to mark down every 1/8 of an inch. And I'm doing some very small marks in my paper punch, pretty much just dots, only large enough for me to be able to see them. And then with the teal Sharpie, I marked every 1 inch, again going all around my paper punch. And now I am just going to experiment with it to see how well it works for me. In this case, I used the 1 inch mark to create a half box label. And in case you are curious, I am just using a scrap paper from a dot grid refill page from the Happy Planner. And the idea behind this is to stretch my products and my paper punch and to use it for more than just creating full boxes. Because even though I have seen others using the full box punch to create shorter boxes, it's kind of hard for me to know exactly how deep do I have to get my paper into the punch to create in the size of label that I want. And as an example, I decided to go with my Tombow marker and I added color all around my half box to actually create like a label sticker with it. And that way you can create like your own colorful boxes. And now I am punching a full box just slightly smaller, and I'm using the lines in my paper punch to get an even border all around. And then you can center it on top of another full box, either from colored cardstock or pattern paper. And that way you can make yourself some really nice full box labels. And for more examples, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button, because I'm gonna be doing that in my next plan with me. And now let's get into the second method for this video. This time I am going to be drawing the lines in a piece of sticker paper instead of just regular cardstock. And I'm gonna be drawing the lines on the negative portion of the first template that we created. Now I am using the first template that I created because I already have it there, but you can go straight to your grid mat or gridded trimmer and do the exact same process as in the beginning, only on the piece of cardstock that we used as a stencil the first time. Now, if I had done my template in sticker paper the first time, I could have just aligned my paper punch and punched out a box out of it, and that way I wouldn't have had to draw the lines again. Then I am going to cut around it with my paper trimmer, but you can also use your scissors, and I am gonna be basically creating those marks in a sticker form so that we don't have to draw directly in our paper punch. Then of course we're going to stick it in our box punch. I decided to leave it all together and place it as a little frame, but it would have been easier to just cut the corners apart and place each strip individually. Now be careful, because if you slide your finger too hard around those metal edges, you may cut yourself. I personally didn't have any problem with that, but you should be careful with it. Now the third method I decided to try, to me was the best one, because it was the easiest and the most accurate one. And for that one you will need your computer. I am gonna be creating those stripped stickers only in my computer. I have a Silhouette machine, so I decided to cut them out in my Silhouette. In fact, I created the file in my Silhouette, which is a free software. Great one, you should get it even if you do not have the Silhouette machine. Anyhow, I created the strips and the lines with that software, and then I simply cut it out with my Silhouette machine as well. Of course, this would be really easy to cut by hand. I just happen to have the Silhouette machine, so why not? And just another idea, you could create the lines by hand just as you can see them in my sticker paper right now, instead of going through the trouble of creating the stencil and having to trace each edge individually. You can create your little ruler on a piece of paper and then cut it out into thin strips and get the same result as in here. Or even easier, find a grid or a ruler online and print it out on a sticker paper and then cut out the strips out of it. How about that? Yep, many different ways, same results. Now, was this experiment a failure or a success? I'm gonna say I have found it pretty useful, which is why I'm sharing the video. At least if I want to punch out different size of boxes. Because again, I can be more accurate when I want to punch out a specific size of box. And also when I want to create the middle part of a bigger box. The pattern on your paper is still gonna help you align it properly, either if it is a grid or a different design, but the lines are gonna help you to get in the right size. So yeah, this is it, you guys. Let me know in the comments if you found this helpful at all, and give me a thumbs up if you are looking forward to the next plan with me, where I'll be using pattern papers to decorate my weekly spread in my classic happy planner. Until then, take care guys. Bye!